Hello, Americans. I'm Kenton McConnell. It's Constitution time. Today is Thursday, January 7th, 2021. One day after some of the worst things I've ever seen in my country. Yesterday started out, for some, positively enough. The two Senate races in Georgia were won by Democrats. As a Democrat, that did not make me unhappy, primarily because I felt that Joe Biden would have a reasonable chance to get some things done, to get some positive things done. I think that every president deserves at least that first 2 years to try to get something done. As I've mentioned on this show before, that usually only translates to a couple of things. And that's even with a very significant edge in the House and the Senate and control of the White House, the House, and the Senate. Mr. Biden does not have a significant edge in the Senate or the House of Representatives. So it's going to be a tough go to get some things done, but at least he has a chance. After that, it usually flips again and we get more complete and total deadlock, as we've seen so much of. Then the process started in Washington, D.C. to count the electoral votes, but only after something else had happened. The rally that President Trump had called for and arranged and organized occurred just a few hours before the electoral votes were to be counted. And at that event, not only the president but his family incited that group of thugs that they had invited, along with regular people that just showed up in support of their president. They incited those people to take a walk down Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capitol. Eric and Don Trump threatened the politicians of their own party with the end of their careers if they didn't do as they were told. It did not look like an American rally. At the beginning of the counting, and I'm relating things to you that I saw and watched with my own eyes. At the beginning of the counting of the electoral votes, two other very positive things happened in my eyes. One was that Vice President Mike Pence made a decision to support the Constitution of the United States and the law, for which I applaud Vice President Pence. I think that he has been a very steadfast supporter of his president in all things. And I'm not a big fan of his otherwise because he was in charge of the COVID effort, which I don't think went very well. And we're going to have some repercussions of that for a long time. And 13 days before the end of his term, it certainly could be argued that Mr. Pence was simply preserving his own political skin. But I actually don't think so. I think Mike Pence made a very deliberate and difficult decision. Difficult to say no to this president, but difficult also to make a decision that he knew would mean that, yes, this was the end of the road for that president and the presidency. But he did the right thing. And shortly after that, as the first objection was dealt with, as the Republicans brought forth their objections to the legal, lawful election that we've had, Mitch McConnell, for the only time that in my view of Mitch McConnell, also did the right thing for the Constitution and lambasted the people of his own party who were bringing these objections, trying to get in the way of our democracy. And then all hell broke loose. Ted Cruz got a chance to say his piece, but I'll talk about that in just a second. But then the strangest thing I've ever witnessed happened, and that merry bunch of ralliers that President Trump invited to Washington, D.C. invaded the Capitol, violently invaded the Capitol, which was almost completely unprotected, with almost all of our leaders inside of that building, the entire Congress inside of that building, the number 2, 3, and 4 in line of succession for the presidency inside that building. The Capitol Police fell back like tissue paper in the face of a violent mob of people who were invited by President Trump to do just that. And it's the most unbelievable thing I've ever watched, and I could not take my eyes away from it, and I could not believe it, even though, I'm sorry to say this because it sounds wrong, but it's the reason I'm here talking to you on this live stream that I started 2 months ago, even though I knew that this would happen. Not necessarily yesterday. Could have been on a number of the events of the president of the election since November 3rd. But this is what I felt would happen, because this is who Donald Trump is. This is what he is. And that is not hard to see, folks. It is not hard to see if you look. And I know a lot of people that might see this one day will disagree with me. But this is the harvest. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. And this is the harvest. Our founders and our framers of the Constitution were very, very wise men. They were seers, and they thought a lot about what they were doing, and they knew that it was possible for their people one day to fall for a populist. But they depended on their ancestors, their descendants, I should say, to have the good sense to not elect a man of such poor character to the highest office in the land. And in their time, you have to remember, there was no mass media, there was no internet. Most Americans had no way. They had no way to know their president. Only the people around him had a way to do that, or maybe they would see the president, the candidates on the back of a train as they went by. They only knew those men by reputation, and that is how they would get elected, by reputation. Now I ask all of you, I ask Republicans and Trump supporters, as well as Democrats, before he was elected, what was Donald Trump's reputation? Do you think that our ancestors would have elected a man of such a reputation? Why did we? Just because he was on TV? Because he was brash? Those are not good reasons to elect a president. We're slipping if we use such poor reasons as, he'll be different, he'll really shake things up, to elect a man of poor character to the office of the presidency. And we are reaping what we sowed. And yesterday was exactly it's not the worst thing. This is my concern now, as we have 13 more days that we have to deal with this. And yesterday was the last scheduled event that Mr. Trump and his supporters could focus on to try to make something happen like they did yesterday. And folks, we are so lucky that we did not lose our representatives, our senators, our leadership. Those folks were armed, and if it had been their intent, or they had received the order, one or the other, many lives could have been lost, and many lives of our leadership. You know, and not all of that leadership is people that have been there for 40 years. Some of they're brand new at it. You know, it's a new job to them, and that was really horrible. What occurred? And I want to talk for just a second about what I witnessed with my own eyes again. What happened vis-a-vis the protection of those people. And it's, of course, all over the media. People are talking about how could they have been so ill prepared. It was known for weeks that Trump had invited the Proud Boys and other such wonderful folk to come and join him for a celebratory rally. It was known for weeks that they would be there. They've been there for weeks in town in Washington, D.C. And there was no preparation. There was no thought given to what they might do. Well, I'm just going to jump to the chase here. I don't buy it. And I think that there were orders given, and I think that people were standing down. And it took hours to get back up. Hours during which people were being killed, hours during which the Capitol building was being looted, hours during which, well, we all saw it, and anything could have been happening inside that building. But perhaps that was part of the arrangement. And I know that, you know, I hate conspiracy theories, I really do. But when I see this with my own eyes, not even the level of protection that would be there on a normal business day, much less a day as important as yesterday, fraught with as many rumored possibilities as yesterday was, you can't tell me that was an accident. It was not an accident. It was an awful thing to witness, and we all witnessed it in living color. I just dated myself by saying in living color. So there's got to be more than just questions asked, and there's a lot of people asking these questions. Make no mistake, but there's something really, really wrong with what happened there yesterday, and it's just part of the whole thing that was really, really wrong. For most of the night, I thought Donald Trump is getting what he wants here. He's going to get this delayed. And amazingly, that didn't happen. Amazingly, all of those lawmakers stayed there and went back to work and didn't stop until it was over. I think that there was an expectation. I certainly had an expectation that when I learned that they were going to reconvene, I really felt the people who are making these protests are going to realize what they have wrought, and they are going to stop. They're going to stop these meaningless protests because they were meaningless. They were not the forum for what they were trying to say. It was not the time to say what they were trying to say. I thought they would stop, and they didn't. They went on till the wee hours of the morning because they continued their meaningless objections, continued to perpetuate the false, the false conspiracy theories about the election. And they kept talking about, vis-a-vis the protesters, that these people deserve to have their concerns heard. They have deep concerns about the election. The only reason they have those concerns is because they were lied to by their holy leader. And that's how they treat him. They don't treat him like a president that you follow and respect. They treat him like a cult leader. And the only reason that they're concerned about the election is because he has been saying that the election was fraudulent since before there was an election. In fact, he was saying it about the first election, which he won. So I did not feel very. I did not feel that those folks needed to be heard so badly that they should take over our government buildings. And by the way, yesterday was not the first time in the last year that government buildings have been taken over. Right in my home city of Seattle, the East District Police Station was taken over by Black Lives Matter. Whether you say it was taken over by them or ceded to them by the city government, it was one and the same. There's a big difference, though, a very big difference between that group of lawbreakers and the group of lawbreakers that stormed the capital of our country yesterday. Black Lives Matter people in Seattle were not ordered to do so by the President of the United States. And that, folks, is a huge, huge difference. I also, and this again is something that's been talked about a lot in the last 24 hours, but I'm afraid I noticed it myself, and I have to agree that group of protesters was treated completely differently than a black group of protesters would have been. And when I looked at the absolutely non-existent police force that was there to protect the Capitol, I thought about what happened last summer when Donald Trump wanted to walk across the street and hold a Bible upside down and backwards for a photo op. That was a significant force that was pulled together to walk across the street for that photo op. And that was a large crowd that they pushed back. And compare that to the police force that was protecting, 600 lawmakers in the middle of a session yesterday. That really illustrated for me, not that I haven't already seen it, but the huge difference that our government takes, the huge difference in their approach when it's a group of white protesters versus a group of black protesters. So yesterday was a mixing pot and a melting pot of the problems that we face in our country that we really need to work on, that our new president really needs to work on. And it's going to be a difficult thing. The world was watching yesterday. And a lot of unfortunate observations were made by people that do not mean us well, the Russians, the Iranians, and by our allies. There's no question that our country has lost stature because of the person that we put in the office of the president. It's not the first time, and it probably won't be the last time, that a man with lacking character, as General Kelly put it today, is put into the office of the president. But I hope it's the last time that we knowingly and willingly put a man of bad character into the office of the president. I know that there will never be a campaign that happens in this country where things aren't, made up about the candidates, no matter how pure of heart they are. The media always finds a way to get some dirt or take some silly thing and turn it into dirt by amplifying it and mischaracterizing it, etc. But come on, folks. We have to face up. We have to own this. We knew who this man was. And the real shame of it is that some people know who he was and celebrate that somehow. That is a good thing. Hey, he's just like us, or whatever. Whatever they think of a person of such incredibly bad behavior and character and history and well-known history. And we can't just blame that person. We're the ones that put him there. And how are we never going to do that again? That's the question here. And how are we going to heal the divide and between the people of our country so that we don't do that again? And how are we going to address the concerns that everybody has? Because the 75 million people that voted for Mr. Trump, they had their reasons for doing that didn't have anything to do with the fraudulent election. They voted for him, knowing that because he started those claims before the election ever even started. But they had their reasons, and those must also be addressed. I hope we can all be part of that solution to find the way to come together so that this doesn't happen again. And it is my fervent wish that we do that. I never script this program, if you can't tell, because I would not be able to read a script even if I wrote one. And there's a million things that I want to say as I sit down and to talk with you about something like, and there's a million things that happened yesterday. One of the things I do want to say is that it's really disturbing, even after such a horrible event, where we can all see who these people were, where they came from, why they were there. That, it didn't take very long before, it was Antifa. Are you kidding me? I heard that one from Sarah Palin, who they dug up on Fox News last night. Sarah Palin says, it was Antifa. And of course that cry has been taken up now. Americans, aren't you mad when your politicians just flat out lie to you like that, to spin things and throw dust up in the air to try to hide? How do they think they're going to hide this? They can't hide this. We know exactly who those people were. They were the Proud Boys and other such folk that were invited personally by the president, probably paid to be there, and who he himself addressed for 2 hours and then sent walking down the road. That's who it was. It wasn't anybody else. I'm incredulous that folks can speak such lies to all of us and not think twice about it. I actually put a little interface in so I could read chats here. One of our listeners says they started claiming that it wasn't them about 10 minutes in. All right. Well, I believe that. I'm sure that they did say it wasn't them, even though we all witnessed them walking from the rally to the Capitol. It wasn't them. Isn't that amazing? One of our listeners makes an observation that I can't disagree with. People want to believe lies. It's in their nature. I think that also people believe what they want to believe and will support it with lies if they don't have anything else. Yesterday made me cry. I don't do that very often, but it was an awful thing to watch. It really was. And it means so many things about us that we really have to work on. And we have to find a way to care about each other more than we care about our differences. And I think I don't know that there's any other solution. I will say this about the man that we have elected to be president. I'm never have been a huge Joe Biden fan or follower of any kind. I have a lot of people's feelings and suspicions about somebody that's been in politics for so long, although I do honor the public service. But I do believe that he has a good character. I believe he is a good man. And I very, very much hope that we can give him some support so that he can try to bring at least the healing of normalcy, if not better, And he is a man that knows how to reach across the aisle, and that might be easier for him to do now because Mitch McConnell lost his power yesterday, or at least a lot of it. But remember how much Mitch McConnell was able to do in the minority when Barack Obama was trying to get things done. So I hope that we can support our president, which is something that my cousin always says, support your president. And I want to go on record right now that despite my major misgivings 4 years ago, I was willing to support Donald Trump as our president because he was our president. But he so quickly showed us that, you can't just have respect and there it is, here's your respect, sir. You have to earn it with your actions. And you can't unearn it with your action. You can unearn it with your actions, and that's what he did. And he started doing that immediately. And it was difficult, harder and harder, and then impossible to support him. So I hope we can support Mr. Biden. All right, my friends, thank you for tuning in this evening. I hope that all of you are well. And I welcome your thoughts if you want to email me on what you saw yesterday. Would love to hear from you. And it was very traumatic for our country, I think. And I'm sure you felt the same way that I did about it. Moving forward, you probably have heard that there's a couple of rumors around about the 25th Amendment and a possible snap impeachment. I didn't know there was such a thing. I hope that our leaders remember that what they do today, the pattern seems to be what we do today will be done far more extremely tomorrow by the other party. So if we try a snap impeachment right now, then the other party's going to do an instant, just add water impeachment down the road. I think General Kelly, who I'm no fan of, was the chief of staff for the president for 2 years, but he kept making the point there's only 13 days to go. But I am very, very concerned about what this man can do in 13 days. And he doesn't have the ability that he has had for the last 4 years to distract, because the social media companies have taken him off the air. And it was already eerily quiet from him because he had stopped doing television and press briefings and that type of thing. So all we were hearing from him was what he was doing on social media, and now he can't do that. And have you noticed that? Is it making a qualitative difference in your life as it is mine? I don't know what the cable news stations are going to do without Donald Trump 24/7. One of my pet peeves. Every word the man says is amplified 5 million times by CNN and MSNBC as much as it is by Fox. I don't think Joe Biden's going to do that. So I think we just got part of our lives back. Let me just check chat here real quick. Yeah. So, I agree with you, Michael. It's just the tip of the iceberg. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Take care. Stay clear of COVID. I hope you have a path to know when you're going to get your inoculation, and be safe. And join us again on Constitution Time.